Welcome to the Jason Vong YouTube studio layer, aka the most coolest, most awesomest office den you have ever seen. Oh, who am I kidding? It's just a regular ass office space. This is the second time I've made a coming out of the closet joke. Super unintentional. So this ain't one of your typical tech YouTuber, fancy studio setup, desk tour. You know, this is a very normal little office space and I like it a lot. So I've been wanting my own little creative office space for as long as I can remember. A place where I can come to and just block out the world and just focus on being creative. And this reality that I'm living in right now is largely thanks to you guys for watching my content and coming back to watch the stuff that I produce. It's amazing, I super appreciate it, thank you guys so much. And I know we haven't publicly announced it, but we have been in this 2-bedroom apartment since November 2019. This second bedroom here being the office space. And it was wild too because we had to move into this apartment 1 week before we went on our month-and-a-half-long Japan trip. I had to pay extra to break my lease in the previous apartment because our 1 year wasn't up yet. On top of that, because this is a 2-bedroom apartment, that means I have to pay more for this extra bedroom. And the dumbest thing was, I was paying rent here for the whole time that I wasn't even living here because we were in Japan. Poor financial choices. And the reason why we had to book this right away was because there was no way that this 2-bedroom will still be available by the time we come back from Japan. So anyways, enough of my financial woes. Let's just get into the studio tour, shall we? By the way, I know I'm gonna get comments about this, but this sticker right here on my face is a little pimple patch. I popped a pimple this morning, which is super unfortunate, but hey, here we are, still doing a studio tour. So just a warning for anyone who has OCD when it comes to cable management. My cable management is abysmal. So I'm sorry if this triggers you. I used to care so much when I shoot these types of studio tour. I don't want these cables lying around because I know I'll get crap for it in the comments. But you know what? I don't care anymore. It's just not practical for someone like me to do any sort of cable management because every 3 to 6 months, I kind of change the setup of my room. One day, my desk setup could end up on this side of the wall, who knows? And for me to spend my time trying to cover up all the cables or drill holes just to feed the cable through, it's just not very practical. And I just want to put it out there for anyone who is stressing about cable management that it doesn't matter if you're watching a desk setup tour or a studio setup tour. This goes to movies and photo shoots as well. You just never know what it looks like behind the scenes. There could be a lot of cables running around. It's just what's being presented in front of the camera that looks neat. So I'm just gonna go ahead and show you what it looks like on this side of the room so we can just focus more on the other side of the room. All right, so let's go ahead and start off with what everyone's familiar with, which is the main set right here. Not really a set, but the main frame, if you will. This is the look that everyone's gonna see in my videos. So let's go ahead and start off with the camera setup. I'm currently using the Sony a7R Mark IV. It's more of a photography camera because of its 61 megapixel capability, but the photo file size that come out of it is huge. So unless I'm doing lens comparison or landscapes, I don't really use it for any sort of photography. But the Sony a7R Mark IV actually has the latest video features from Sony, and one in particular is the autofocus. So with the older Sony cameras, when you plug in an external monitor and you're shooting in 4K, face detection autofocus kind of goes out the window, which isn't a huge problem. I would use a smaller focus point and put it in the middle of the screen where my face is at, and it usually does a pretty good job. But with the a7R Mark IV, I can use an external monitor, my small HD focus right here, and still have face detection autofocus and eye detection autofocus, which gives me a peace of mind that the camera's keeping me in focus while I'm shooting my A-roll. The only downside is I have to cover my face if I want to show any sort of product in my video, but it's not a bad trade-off. And the lens I'm using is the 16 to 35 f2.8 G Master. I used to use prime lenses to shoot all of my A-roll, but because of how frequently I change the look of my video, I figured having a zoom lens here to be able to switch on the fly is much better. So I can go 16 wide like this, have this table right here. Actually, I can pull it back even more to do any sort of unboxing, or I can zoom in just a bit to frame out the table because it's kind of crooked to show a little bit of my desk setup. And I can even go tighter if I want to make any sort of like personal video like what I'm doing right now, and just kind of zoom into like 28 right here. So it's just easier than me having to switch out lenses every time. So having a zoom lens like this is incredibly helpful. Now, some of you might recall that I got the Sony 24G Master f1.4 because I needed that f1.4 to blur out the mess in my background. See, that was applicable when I was still shooting out of my living room in the previous apartment where our living room was kind of messy. Now I have a dedicated, I guess, set, and I don't really need that f1.4 to blur out the background, so poor financial choices. Anyways, let's go ahead and move on to the audio. So sitting right underneath my camera is a sound recorder. It's the MixPre 3. A couple of my YouTube friends use it as well. Ted Forbes from Art of Photography, Manny Ortiz, and Jonathan Morrison made a whole video talking about the MixPre series. So I decided to pick one up, and I used this mic right here to connect it, which is the Sennheiser MKH416. Parker Walbeck did a comprehensive comparison between this one and the Deity and the Rode, and I personally found the Sennheiser to sound the best out of all of those, so I decided to pick one up. Now, for the first 5 to 6 videos that I was shooting with this new setup, I actually had the Sennheiser right up here with a tripod boom pole, but that was creating a lot of clutter in the back space right there, so I decided to stop using it. I think I'm going to get like a dedicated mic stand, which is a smaller footprint, and just kind of have the mic underneath the camera setup right here so I can record my audio. I'll probably pick that up pretty soon, but for now, I'm using the Rode NT USB, which is connected to my MacBook, and I just kind of sync everything up later. This actually gives me the best audio quality right now. You might notice some echoing going on in my room. I usually have 2 sound panels right by the side of my cameras. I don't have it up right now because I want the behind the scenes camera to show everything, but those usually does a good job absorbing the sound, and this one right here gives me the best audio because I'm so close to it. Just to give you guys a bit of reference, this is what it sounds like if I'm using the Rode Loft mic. This is what I normally use for my videos all throughout my YouTube career, but since moving on to the Rode and the Sennheiser right here, there's a huge difference from using something like this to something like these, so yeah. Now, I was going to invest $1,200 to $1,500 to soundproof my office space. I was gonna get sound panels hung up on the wall, but that would have went way over budget. I, of course, can get those cheapy sound foams and kind of like piece it on the wall myself, but knowing me, I would have messed that up. So the compromise I decided to go with was to spend $500 on these 2 sound panels right here, where I can put it right by the side of my camera to kind of help absorb some of that echo. I don't have those sound panels set up right now because I want the behind the scenes camera to show what it looks like when I'm recording a normal YouTube video. But I also kind of like this natural light look coming in from my window. So had I had those sound panels up, it would have blocked those natural light and I would have been forced to use just my lighting, which is absolutely fine because I have the flexibility now to shoot whenever I want. If it's during the day, I can use the natural light, or if it gets dark, if it's at night, I can use these lighting right here to light me up. Which brings us to the lighting setup. Currently, I'm using the Westcott Cine Lights. I have a 2x1 right here right now that's lighting me as a key light, and I do have one that's a hair light, which is a 1x1. It's not on right now, but these are really nice. They're really soft and they can be very bright. Just to give you an idea, I never have to go past 10 to 15%, so these lights can get really bright. I have the diffuser on them, which gives me these really nice soft lighting. And I know a lot of YouTubers use the Aperture 120D. It's a crazy popular light. I have one myself. I love it a lot, but unfortunately when you have the light dome on it, it just takes up way too much space. You can see here with the Westcott, it's really thin and it provides really similar results, if not the same results. And what's also nice is that I can actually rip the light off the framing. So if I want to bring this very similar light setup, I can. It doesn't take up too much space when I pack it in my suitcase. So that's an option for me. But yeah, just to finish up, the tripod that I'm using to hold my camera setup is the Manfrotto Be Free video tripod. I was going to sell this, but because it's such a thin tripod, it doesn't take up too much space, I decided to just keep it to use for my studio shoots. And you'll see these wires being connected to the Mix-Pre 3 and the Sony. I like to power these devices through an external source so I don't have to worry about the batteries dying. And I also have a really big card in my Sony a7R Mark IV, sometimes 128 gig, sometimes 256 gig. Because the Sony a7R IV doesn't have a 30-minute recording limit, I can just keep yapping on for my A-roll, have like an hour or two footage and just sync it up with the audio and cut up all the good bits and put out a YouTube video. So there you go. That's the setup right there. Let's move on to the actual set itself. All right, starting off with the top shelf is my little YouTube shrine. Got a plaque for crossing 100,000 subscribers. Thank you guys so much. We're currently working our way towards 500,000 right now. This is supposed to be an A7R Mark II, but I loaned it to a friend, so I have to use the R3 in the meantime. But it's supposed to signify my first Sony Alpha camera. That's what's made me start up my YouTube channel, so that's why it's supposed to be there. But in the meantime, I do have this tiny, small Sony A7R II. It's actually a little USB. Got this really early on when I started my YouTube channel. Thank you, Marcus. And got this Alpha little paperweight right here, courtesy from one of our subscribers over in San Diego. Thank you so much, Vince, for this. Yeah, that's my little Alpha YouTube shrine right here. And on the bottom is my second favorite love, the beautiful, sexy Zeiss bodice lenses. Ooh, just look at this beautiful completed collection right here. Every time I look at this, I get super, super excited. Anyways, these are way more than just decorative set pieces. I do use them. If we ever have to shoot a video with them, we take them out, or when we travel, we do carry these lenses with us. But whenever we're shooting our A-roll inside the studio here, I can't be using them, otherwise there'll be a missing gap and I don't want that. So for the most part, we're shooting any sort of studio videos, they stay up to look sexy. These don't really belong here, just my journal and a color checker. Not gonna spend too much time on these, but just books that I've read that I really like. I don't own too many books, but lately I've been getting into a lot of photography books. Before the whole quarantine thing, I would bring these out to coffee shops with me just to kind of browse at them for like 30 minutes, just to get some inspiration. Got one on if you're bored with your camera, read this book, and a collection of 50mm photos. And also on the bottom here, I have some technical photography book by Michael Freeman. There's still so much more I can learn about photography in terms of telling a story and the technical aspect of photography, and just being able to flip through these books from time to time just kind of helps invigorate some of that creative juice. It also allows me to help explain things better in my video. Moving on, got a Google Home Hub right here. You already know what it does. Got the G Master little plaque right here. And before, this part was empty and Vivian thought it looked super sad, so she gave me a plant, but I think I forgot to water it, so it looks a little bit dry. Got a Zeiss pillow right here because I have no idea where else to put this. And I have no idea what to put on the bottom here. I used to have like another box here, but I sold that camera. So yeah, I'm gonna find something else to fill here. If you have any suggestions, please let me know. So as a Valentine's present for me, Vivian painted my wall. Thank you, Vivian, because I don't know how to paint. But she did a great job. However, the huge oversight on our end was that we didn't realize that there are textures on the wall. So when it's white, it's kind of hard to see. But then after we paint it, you can kind of see it because it kind of casts a little shadow. So you can see the texture, it's very apparent. It bothers me a lot, only when I look closely at it. Good thing when I shoot my YouTube videos, the camera's further away from the wall, so whatever it's focusing on, this just gets bokeh out. So it's fine in video, but in real life, it's really, yeah, let's move on. So we've also thought about painting the closet door as well, but I kind of like the white color. It gives me a nice little separation when I sit in front of it. I might consider adding bokeh lights around outlining this door right here, like what I did in my previous apartment, but we'll see. Maybe around Christmas time, I'll do that if I'm here for Christmas. So yeah, anyways, let's bring you guys into the closet. So I'm not gonna go through every single detail on how I organize my gear. I'll just give you guys a brief overview as to what the thought process was. So we have this IKEA tic-tac-toe shelf. Each kind of have their own bins, and I'm gonna get into labeling them, but for the most part, I can already see at a glance what each of these bins contain. So for example, this whole bin right here is nothing but like mini tripods and cage accessories. So I know to come directly to this bin if I need any of that stuff. And over on this top bin right here just holds a lot of the stuff that I need right away for my everyday YouTube set. So let's just say maybe a Rode shotgun mic, a lav mic. If I need to go on stream, it's all right here in this bin. I know to look in this bin if I need any of that stuff. And all of this is just external battery banks, chargers, cables for chargers, etc. So these bins up here are sort of in the same vein, except these are just much more smaller accessories that could get easily lost in these big bins right here. So I keep them up here, things like lens wipe, lens cleaners, batteries for Sony, quick release plates, etc. Okay, it may seem like I don't have my cameras or lenses organized, but these are actually technically loaners, so I'm testing out the lenses and the cameras that were sent to me. Actually, no wait, that's mine. Oh, that's mine too. Let's not get this confused with some of that gear. Oh, that's definitely mine. That's mine. You know what, I'll just take them off their hands. They don't need this stuff anymore. Sorry, Lens Renzo. You don't need this anymore. So in case you're wondering what this shelf is for, this used to be the cabinet that houses all this stuff right here. We used to have a tiny little closet space back in the old apartment, so I would put all the quick release and the knickknacks in here, but obviously I have a whole lot. So it was hard to find the little things inside these cabinets, so that's why when we moved into this space right here, I decided to just kind of put them in their own little bins right here so they're easier to find and easier to see. I'll probably have use for this in the future, so that's why it's still here. So these are the sound panels I was talking about. Luckily they fit in the closet space so I can hide them easily. So what I really like about my gear closet space is that I have some depth so I can hide my camera bags, you know, my 16 different Peak Design bags. Yeah, they're all in there. But I have some space to hide tripods, monopods, light stands, and green screens in there as well. So yeah, let's go ahead and get out of the closet. Welcome to the battle station. This monitor stand is honestly what delayed my studio tour. I had everything ready to go since the start of March, but because this is handcrafted wood, it took a month for it to get here. So this monitor stand is from Grovemate. It costed me a pretty penny, $500. Poor financial choices. But in all honesty, I've never had a proper desk setup my entire life. I was rocking this $10, $15 monitor stand from Amazon for the past 8 years, and oh my god, it was super flimsy. So this upgrade is well worth it. The way that I kind of justify it is that this, again, is my battle station. It's my workstation. It's where I come to be creative. It's where I'm going to be spending 10 to 12 hours a day. So not only is it important to have a clean desk space, but also clean, aesthetically pleasing looking desk space. Just helps me focus on my work more and just be more productive. And after 3 weeks of sitting in front of my computer, I can say I actually enjoy sitting in front of my computer and editing. This really does help a lot. So what actually came bundled with the monitor stand is also this keyboard and mouse mat right here, which I can just use to slide back and forth for when I'm not using it. I can just have a clean space right here to work on something else, to shoot B-roll. And when I'm ready to use my computer again, I can just slide it back out and start using my computer again. And underneath here is a little tray full of knickknacks. I have SD cards, SD card readers, AirPods. I'm gonna probably populate it a little bit more as time goes on, but it's nice to have this little tray. And above the tray is this tiny compartment where I can put my iPad Pro or notebooks as well. The bundle that I ordered also came with this laptop lift right here as well, which is incredibly nice. And the main computer of choice that I have going on is the 15-inch MacBook Pro. This is a spec'd out 15-inch MacBook Pro from last year. I got it in June, 5 months before they announced the 16-inch MacBook Pro. So I was pretty mad because I got the Vega 20 graphics on this MacBook Pro right here. And I think they have something even better now at an even lower price. So whatever. I would lose money if I try to sell this 15-inch MacBook Pro and try to get the 16-inch MacBook Pro, but it's whatever. It still does a really good enough job for whatever it is I need to do, so I'm not too mad. So I know I'm gonna get a lot of questions on the monitor. This is a 4K monitor from LG. The model unit is 32UL950. It's a $1,200 monitor. I got it on sale for about $900. Got super lucky on that. And I used to have an ultra wide angle monitor. Some of you guys might remember that. I just got tired of shifting my body like this, left and right, just so I can see like my entire monitor. And because I started using the 27-inch iMac, for like the past year, that I just kind of like this smaller screen instead of it being ultra wide. So that's why I decided to invest in a 32-inch 4K monitor. And I believe this monitor is super color accurate. Back when I was color grading on my ultra wide monitor, it will look good on the monitor itself, on my phone, and on the MacBook. But when I play it back on my TV, it was super saturated. But now when I color grade on this monitor, it will look good across every screen that I'm using. So yeah, I like it a lot. So in case you were wondering what this is in the middle, this is the CalDigit Thunderbolt 3 dock. With just one cable, it gives me a lot of peripherals. It allows me to connect my 4K monitor, the SD card, extra USB 3 ports, a mic jack, a headphone jack. And did I mention SD card reader? It gives me an SD card reader right here. Plus, it can power my MacBook as well, so it's pretty cool. It just takes one port. Oh, and this dice looking thing right here, this is my productivity timer. This keeps me in check and in focus. So whenever I need to edit and write without being distracted, I just like kind of flip this cube to like 60 minutes and I would just focus on editing or writing. I won't check Facebook, I won't check Instagram until this thing beeps. And when it beeps, I switch it to the 5-minute timer to take a break. Shout outs to Kitty from Atolo Visuals for introducing this to me. This has been incredibly helpful for helping me stay in focus. And I also like using this for client work as well. Sometimes clients like to pay me by the hour, so I would log my hours on toggle.com. But oftentimes I would forget to turn on the timer on the website or turn it off, which can be pretty dang bad. I had to go back and like fix it. So rather I would just use this cube right here and just log it in by increments. So if I use the cube 3 times for 60 minutes, I would put in 3 hours. I did 3 hours of work for my client. And because I'm using this to keep me accountable from being distracted, I am actually putting in 60 minutes of work for my client. So they're not cheated, I'm not cheated, everybody wins. If you're someone that's easily distracted and I can only sell you one thing out of this entire video, it would be this timer cube right here. Seriously, get it. It will help your productivity a lot. And this chair right here that I have is the Erman Miller Cosm chair. Costed me a pretty penny, 2 pretty pennies in fact, because I had to buy one for me and one for Vivian. But same logic, I'm sitting in front of my computer for 10 to 12 hours, so it's best to have a very comfortable ergonomic chair. It's really good for my back. Combine this with a little cushion that I have underneath my desk, I'm able to sit in further back and really just allow my back to rest on this without hurting it. So it's been a year since I've been using this chair and I like it a lot. I haven't experienced as much back pain as I used to before. So Erman Miller Cosm chair, good stuff. Like I said, nothing fancy smancy, pretty normal studio office space. Someday I would like to have my own little creative space in Japan, like actually own a creative space in Japan. You know how some people have beach houses, vacation houses, you know, a getaway spot that they go to every summer? Well, I want that for Japan, but not in the summer, during the winter time would be nice. Anyways, this has been my little studio tour video. Tag me on Instagram story at JasonVMedia, your desk setup or your studio setup. But before you go, I would greatly appreciate it if you guys stick around to listen to what my sponsor Squarespace has to say. Watching the little ad at the end of my video does help my channel a whole lot. Enjoy. So I've been using Squarespace for about 3 years now, and what keeps me coming back is the ease of use. It is an all-in-one platform to create beautiful and clean websites. No coding knowledge is required thanks to the easy-to-use templates. For 2020, Vivian and I will be adding additional photography and videography resources to our website, so definitely stay tuned to see our progress and our announcement. For now, you can try Squarespace yourself, whether it's a photo portfolio website you can send to your client or an e-commerce for your products. Design it with Squarespace. Head to squarespace.com/JasonVong to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or a domain. Thanks for listening to this message. It does really help my channel out a lot. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.